Alright, I'm going to show you how to get your project started, and we're going to put some hills and mountains and do some coloring. So, first thing you're going to do is to delete that cube. You just hit delete on your keyboard, go all the way up here to the left to create, and click plane. Now this is very important. You have to click S on your keyboard to scale it, move your mouse, and then left click on your mouse like we've normally been doing. Scale it to any size that you want, and then you should have access to right here. It should say resize and then vector. On the x-axis, I want you to type 30. On the y-axis, I want you to type 30. Now we have a 30 by 30 plane, all right? If you still see that transparent plane there, those lines, and they're bothering you, just bring your main plane up a little bit and you are good. Now we're going to go right into edit mode. So click tab on your keyboard or come down here and go to edit mode. After that, make sure your whole item is selected. Usually right when you get into edit mode, whatever object you're in edit mode with, the whole object is selected. That's why it's orange. Here's a shortcut, A. And the shortcut for A is to select all or deselect all. Now we are already selected all, so if I hit A again, I deselect all. So now it's not selected. So when you hit A, you can deselect and select. Keep it selected, so it should be orange, okay? After you do that and you're in edit mode, you can go to Tools, and then Subdivide. It's right here, okay? Subdivide. Click that one time. This will divide it into 4 equal parts. What we want to do, though, is we want to divide it into many equal parts. So come down here to number of cuts, and I would change that to 30. You can do 30 to maybe 50, but I wouldn't do more than 50, okay? So 30 is pretty good. Now, if you noticed, I have a lot of different boxes now, a lot of cuts. There's one other thing I want to do. To make this terrain and these mountains and hills really cool, I want to kind of have some more cuts in there. So I'm going to actually do some triangle cutting. So if I hit Control T, okay, Control T, as you notice, now there are a bunch of little triangles. If your Control T doesn't work, click somewhere over here in the gray and then click it, and then it should work. So Control T. Now I want to deselect the object. Once again, you do that by clicking A. Now it's deselected, okay? Now remember, when you're in edit mode, you have options like vector select way here at the bottom, which is just every single vector. That's the one we're going to end up using. Edge select, which is this one, which you can kind of use, but it doesn't work very well in this situation. And then face select, that will select all the faces, all the triangles. You can kind of use that too, but once again, that's not the best for the situation we're working in. So I suggest going to vector select right here. So let's just make a quick hill. To make a hill, I would just select one vector. So figure out where you want the top of your hill to be, select that vector, okay? Now, here's a couple shortcuts that are new. They're written on the whiteboard in the classroom. So the first one is O for fall off. I'm going to click that once, O on my keyboard. When you click it, it doesn't look like anything happened, but what it did, watch where my mouse goes. Right down here, it gave you access to this small little menu here. And this menu is kind of important because it's going to determine the shape of what we do when we extrude everything. So for a hill, I'm going to go with probably the sphere, okay? You can guess and test and you can try some of the other ones, but I'm going to do the sphere. I found that one to work the best. Now the next shortcut is G for grab on your keyboard. So after you do that, I want you to hit G. Make sure you do that O thing first, or this is not going to work. So you click O, and then change it to sphere or whatever one you want to do, and then you click G for grab. Right when I hit G, you'll notice when I move my mouse, I grab that vertex, and now I can move it around all the axes. Remember, it's kind of tricky when you move it around all the axes because it's hard to make it go straight up because sometimes you're going left, you're going right, so it's a little difficult. I suggest you locking it on the Z axis because the Z axis is the up and down. To do that, just click Z on your keyboard, and you'll notice the blue line. Now I'm locked on the Z axis, so whenever I move my mouse, it's just going to go up and down. Now look at what I'm doing here. You'll see a little circle at the bottom. That is very important because you're going to look at this and say that is not a hill. You're just making a straight line going up and a pointy top. If I use the scroll on my mouse, the middle button, and I scroll it with my thumb or my finger and make that circle bigger, I'm going to grab more of those triangles, and now it looks more like a hill. See that? So bring it up to where you want, click on your mouse, and then you can actually come in here and change it up a little bit if you want, okay? So that is a quick hill. Now let me show you some mountains. It's almost exactly the same. I'm going to stay on vertex select. I'm going to hold down shift though because I want to select several vertexes. So I'm going to just randomly some vertexes like this. That's pretty good for now. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I already clicked O, so I should already have access to this menu, but I'm going to change it to random, okay? Because random is kind of cool to make mountains. And then I'm going to hit G again on my keyboard, and then let's figure out the size that I want. Let's go about here. I'm using the scroll pad, and then once again, I'm going to click Z to lock it on the Z axis and then move my mouse. There you go. Now the bigger I make that circle, the more stuff I'm going to grab and the more mountains I'm going to make. So let's just do right about there. That's good enough. Now remember, after you do that, you can actually come in here close and you can start editing these things one by one. I'm on vector select, so I can just grab a vector, bring it down. I can bring this one up maybe. I can bring this one down. So you can really start making your mountains look cool. You can even go to face select here and you can grab a couple of the faces if you want. I can rotate them if I want, like this. I can do several different things. So just remember, you can do that to really make your mountains cool. You can hit E to extrude. Remember the extrude button? So if I click on this one, hit extrude, see how I just kind of brought that one out? So you can really make your mountains look pretty cool. So now let me quickly show you how to color these mountains. You should already know how to do most of this, but there's one important thing that I need you to do, because when we turn this into a game that you can walk around, we have to place it into another program called Unity. And in order to do that and for all the colors to go by properly, you have to rename your colors. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing I like to do is to color the entire object. Remember, to do that, make sure you're in object mode. You have to go to object mode first and make sure your whole plane is selected. This will color the entire thing. Remember, come all the way here to the far right, this little circle that looks like a BMW sign. Click on it once, click new, and then you're going to go right here to diffuse and change the color. I'm going to just change it to green. Now here is the important part. Every time you add a new color, I want you to come right here where it says the new material number, and I want you to rename this. I'm going to rename it Green 1. The reason I named it Green 1 is because there are multiple shades of green. I can have a light green, a dark green. So if I do another shade of green, I'm going to call that Green 2, and then Green 3, and then Green 4. Then I'll have multiple shades of green. All right, this is very, very important. You must do this if you want the colors to remain intact when we export and then import again. So another quick thing, I didn't show you about this one. This one's actually pretty cool. If you notice this little circle here, this white circle, it's a shine, and you can see how it kind of glows when I move it around. You see the little white shine? If I want to make that more intense, I can move this up, and you'll see now you see those shines a lot more. If you don't really want to see the shines at all, you can just bring that all the way down, and now look, it's not really that shiny. You don't really see it. You can also watch, if I make that intensity high and then even change the color of it, I can actually have a similar color. See, it added that red, so it gives you that orangey little glow. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to use that or not. I think it's kind of cool. It's really used for like cars and windows, but if you want to do it on your landscape, that's fine. But remember, make sure you are naming these things. Okay, now let me show you how to let's say I want this hill to be a separate color. Okay, so once again, you have to go into edit mode. Remember, edit mode if you want to change colors of random things within your object. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I just want to select this entire hill. Okay, and in order to do that, I have showed you that you can just click and hold down shift and then start clicking everything, but that's going to take forever. So I'm going to show you a couple new tools that are pretty cool. The first one is called a box select, and it's B for box select. So you click B on your keyboard and you will notice this little target. What you can do now is draw a box and let go, and look, it automatically selects everything that you covered. The only problem with that is A, you have to hold down shift to get rid of some of these, because look, I want to deselect these because maybe I don't want those to be a certain color, and then I have to come over here and I have to grab these. So that's not the best method for this, but it will work a lot if you build something over here and you want to select the entire thing. Click B, put a box around it, and then move it over. For this, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a cursor select. This one is actually really cool. You have to hit C on your keyboard, okay? Now, there's a few things I want to tell you about this one. It's a little tricky, so watch what I'm doing. Right when I hit C on my keyboard, everything's locked other than I can move my mouse and I can paint. So now I'm just painting my hill, okay? Now see the circle. If I use my scroll pad, I can make it bigger and smaller. That'll come in handy, because if I just wanted to do that, I can select everything. But that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to erase everything. Now look, to deselect everything, you can press down the middle scroll button and then go again, and it erases it. So let me bring down my brush with the scroll button, and now I'm going to just paint my hill, all right? Now here's the little tricky part. I have to get the back of this hill, okay? Because my view is just looking down. I need to right click on my mouse so that circle disappears, and now it's unlocked and I can move normally again. So let me move to the back. I'm going to click C again, make my brush maybe a little smaller, and I'm going to finish painting my hill. Okay? Perfect. Now look, if I'm going to, whoop, boom, I'm going to right click again, move over. Everything looks like it's painted. I'm just, boom, good. Now look, once again, I don't want to change the color of this. So if I hold down my middle mouse button, I can deselect it, okay? Now I need to right click to unlock it. Look, I missed one right here, so I'm going to click C again, right click. Perfect. That's pretty good. So after I do that, make sure you right click, because if you don't right click and the circle's still there, you will not be able to select any of your options here. So right click, it's really important. So next thing, let's change this to a different shade of green. So I'm going to go to plus here, new, and then go to diffuse, and then I'm going to add a green, and then I'm going to bring this down to make it a little bit of a darker green. See that? So let's do that one. Remember, come up here, and I'm going to name this one green 2, and then I'm going to hit assign, and then now if we look at it, it's that darker green, okay? So that's exactly what you can do to the mountains also, but keep in mind, when you start doing the mountains, you can do the same thing, select them all and choose a certain color like blue or whatever, but if you also want to color them individually, you can come down here to your, don't forget, you can come down here to your face select, and you can hold down shift and select a couple of these faces, like this, and let's just add a new color. I'm going to do a blue. I'm going to go new, diffuse, blue, change this to blue 1, and then click assign. And now look, I only colored those, see? So that's how you can start coloring them individually. Another really cool thing I want to show you, if you go back to edit mode, okay? Look, we still have all this cool stuff here. So if you want to make some paths and stuff in colors, you can totally do that. Click C on your keyboard, get this little cursor guy again, and let's select like a little path. Let's make a path towards the mountains. So I'm going to just color a little bit of this, like that. I'm going to deselect these guys because I don't know why they were still selected, but let's deselect them. And good. Now let me right click, zoom out. So let's just do a cool little path there. So I'm going to just go add another color, new, boom, and let's just do like a sandy looking, like a brownish. So I'm going to do a brown 1, and then assign. Now let's look at it. There you go. So now I have like a little path to my mountains. So that's how you can start coloring stuff. The last thing I want to show you, don't forget this part, that this is very, very, very important. So make sure you're renaming your colors. The last thing, I'm going to remind you how to save this thing, because this is also important. Some of you guys keep forgetting. So go to File, Save As. On the far left, right here, you should see student files, okay? This is on a different computer, so I do not have it. So after you do that, click on student files. It should be the first one, and then you should be able to go into, you should be able to see your name here in your folder. If you do not have a folder, click this and create a folder and write your name. Make sure you double click inside your folder and then go right here where it says Untitled Blend and give it a name, okay, so we can find it. But make sure you're inside your folder. This up here should have your name at the way end, okay? And then click Save as a Blender file way here on the right, and then you are good. Good luck. See ya.